Ron, you on mute.
Oh, yo. I thought I pressed it. What's going on, faithful? This is your boy Ronnie Niner, live from Miami, Florida. Joined by my boy Money Mike and my boy Money Mav. Chris couldn't join us today. He is doing Ring the Bell. Of course, Phillies are in the playoffs. There is a lot to talk about. Andrew will be joining us later. What's up, fellas? How you guys doing today?
Doing good, man. How about yourself?
Good, man. So, lots to talk about. Obviously, it's officially week 5. It's Cowboys week. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of talk going on, and two big juggernauts getting ready to clash. So, but before we get into it, we can talk a little bit about, we'll talk about around the league. We'll talk about the of course, facing the Cowboys, and then we got a couple of special topics that I want to talk through. Coach of the year, and then best 49ers team, just to give you an idea of what we're going to be talking about today. So, first things first, fellas, I want to talk about a couple of games around the league last week and a couple of items just to get your guys' thoughts. First thing I wanted to talk about, I know that we've been chatting a little bit about the QB situation around the league. I was curious to know your guys' thoughts. Did you guys have any takeaways, any specific topics that you guys want to talk through before I jump into what I want to say, or you want to just jump right into it?
I mean, when it comes to the QBs, it's just still being proven week after week that a lot of the top guys aren't performing. Um, I know Allen's kind of found his way. He's kind of playing to top performance again, but Mahomes is struggling. Burrow, forget about it. Like it's a point where he needs to get benched. Like he just needs to get healthy. I think that calf injury is bothering him more than anyone's letting on, and it's showing. It's costing them games. So it would probably be beneficial to the Bengals to let him sit. I think they have a bye next week, if I'm correct. So you know what, sit him out this game. Let
Hmm.
him see it fully healthy because right now it's a sad thing to see. Um, but again, Purdy's the one that's kind of outperforming all these guys, and it's a good thing to see for us. And then when it comes to the rookie class, I think we can all agree that Stroud is he's the top guy. He's kind of looking good over there with the Texans, 2 in a row. When's the last time they've won 2 in a row?
Right? Seriously, I'm glad you brought up Burrow because I did want to talk about Burrow. Um, is he really hurt, or are we seeing a trend with guys just not performing after signing big contracts? Joe
There
Burrow is probably in the bottom 5 right now in completion percentage and just overall QBR. That's insane. It's Joe Burrow.
there
What is
is that
going on with Joe Burrow?
there is that trend, but I really think the injury is bothering him because this is more than just a guy that's kind of stepping down. Like he never seemed like that kind of guy that was going to get paid and just drop off. He's got that fire. He wants to win. He's super competitive. He wants to bring this team a championship. I really think with him, it's coming down to that injury. He just doesn't look the same. Um, I think he re-aggravated it probably in week 1 and just doesn't want to admit it and just wants to try and tough it out, and it's becoming a detriment to this team.
If you're the
The way I,
Bengals, do you shut him down?
I think they should.
yeah, yeah, of course, I would. You guys remember the Madden curse?
Yes.
You get on the Madden cover, and then the very next year, you're just injured for the whole season. Now, I can't remember who broke that curse, nor is that curse still around.
I think
But
Brady broke it.
Brady broke it.
I think
Okay, see,
Brady, Mahomes, and now
no,
Allen is all kind of three.
actually, it's still kind of around a little bit because if you look at it, right after Mahomes got on that cover, he started getting injured like year after year, and it's almost similar to the bag. It's like a bag curse. It's not a trend to me. It's a curse, and it's been going on ever since the cap got put in place. And once them guys get their bag, man, that's it. They start dipping off from there, whether they're injured or not. But it's just something going on with getting that money. It's like no more love for the game.
See, I don't think that's with Burrow though. I still think he has that passion, that love. I think it's the injury that's kind of hampering him. But you bring up the bag. Can I bring up a certain quarterback that got paid the bag last year for having a mediocre year? And how is that that
Yes.
in the ass? Can we talk about
Okay,
Daniel Jones getting paid 40 plus million a year and he's playing like a third stringer?
you're absolutely correct. Now I got a rebuttal for that, and I have used that same rebuttal before. You only have two people on that team. You have Saquon, who is predominantly the face of the Giants right now, and you have Daniel Jones, who is the quarterback. You had to pay one of them. You had to make a decision, and it had to been a tough decision on Dable because I mean you look at it, Saquon's not on the field. There's no telling if he's gonna stay on the field all season long, even when he does come back. And then you paid the guy that you felt like was the better decision. Now he's playing like a third stringer, like you said. Either way it goes, he was backed into a corner. That money was gonna be wasted. So who would you much rather waste it on?
I said it last year when they were going through this, who they going to pay. It should have been Barkley. That team was centered around Barkley last year. Daniel Jones threw for what, 15 touchdowns? That's media.
Hmm.
That's mediocre quarterback play.
Right.
Barkley was the team. They picked the wrong guy. I mean, I see no fire. You talk about getting paid and losing the fire. There's no emotion from this guy. You got Darboll throwing iPads at his feet and there's no reaction. He doesn't care. He's not firing this team up. This team isn't behind him.
No, I agree
Barkley
with
was
you.
the face of this team. Barkley should have got paid, and they should have waited and just got another rookie quarterback. Because Daniel
I
Jones,
agree with you, but
they're
either
having
way it goes,
worse.
you wouldn't have been able to move either contract. Neither contract would have been easy for you to move. I mean, you would have been eating up some dead cap regardless. I'm yeah, you're gonna eat more with the quarterback position, but
Well, quarterback, they didn't pick up his fifth year option. They didn't have to do anything. They could have let him walk.
they could have. But if you look at the type of quarterback that Dable likes to work with is a Josh Allen type, and I think that's what he saw in Daniel Jones, and that's why he went with that decision over Saquon and his injury issues. Because I mean, how do you move from Saquon if he's hurt the next year if you
Does
paid him?
does this cost Darboll his job?
So let's talk about that though, because why do you pay Jones that much money if you're the Giants? How do you justify that contract? What made you pay him that?
You look at Jones' stats from last year. You could have got that from numerous free agent quarterbacks that are out there. If that was what you wanted as your franchise and you're willing to pay that kind of money for it, you could have gone out and got a lot of other guys.
You could have. You could have, but
What?
again, you asked the question, what does that cost him his job? And Ron also asked the question, what possessed the Giants to pay him that? I think we just answered the question within the question. I mean, it's not all on Dable, right? If he doesn't pan out this year on coaching wise, yes, he's on the hot seat or he might lose his job. But as far as like that financial situation with Daniel Jones, I don't think that was really his decision and his decision alone. He probably had a big say so in it. Yeah, he can coach a QB versus a running back. But then again, ultimately the Giants didn't have to give him nothing. The Giants could have said no.
Exactly. Have we
So
ever
That's
seen this big of a fall from grace for a coach that won Coach of the year before?
say that again.
right.
Have we ever seen a coach that's won Coach of the Year fall this hard the year after?
No.
This is
Well,
a
no,
this
That's
I
is a
can't say that I have.
poorly coached team. Like it sickens me that guy got Coach of the Year over Shanahan last year. Shanahan got to
yeah.
the championship with playing three quarterbacks. He had one quarterback go down to injury. That's a season ender. Continues it with Jimmy. He goes down. Now that numerous media was like, that's it. That's the gut punch. The Niners just lost their season. And that's how we found our golden child in Mr. Brock Purdy and gets us the NFC championship. That alone, getting that far with 3 different quarterbacks, should have been coach of the year.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, we'll talk about coach of the year a little bit later on, because you hit basically every point that I had for that topic. But here's what I'm thinking. Why? So let's put our couch GM hat on here. Did Dable have to sign off on that? Did he have any say in that? Like, here's my thought process on that. Was he forced to take this guy in basically? I think we don't know how the Giants operate. I'm assuming the GM made the call on that. Whether Dable signed off on that or not, I don't know. But you're absolutely right, Mike. If you look around the league, where do you see the potential with this kid? I'm almost thinking that Dable was thinking like, all right, we can turn this guy into a Josh Allen type of dude. So there's no reason I don't see why you can justify paying this guy that much money. Now you put yourself in a tough situation with overpaying a kid who really doesn't have much potential, and now you're having to fire a guy who probably wasn't on board since the get-go. It's just a complete mess. I'm still trying to understand the dynamic within that organization
I don't believe
and who
Dable get.
decided.
I don't believe Dable get fired because he just got hired. That'll be one of the quickest turnaround as far as like hiring a head coach just to fire him the year after he won head coach of the year.
What's
And
the solution then? Because you can't turn Jones. You're stuck with them next year.
but if I'm not mistaken though, if
Again,
I'm not mistaken, the GM was already there before Brian Dable got there, right?
Well, I think they kind of got hired hand in hand around the same time.
Are you
yeah.
sure about that? Because I don't believe it was.
Well, because remember that we had Adam Peters interviewing for the Giants position, whether he was true or didn't get it. It was the
Okay.
same time they were trying to pair Dable with the new GM.
Okay.
So it's basically like the Lynch and Shanahan situation.
Well, in my case, in
So
this
what?
situation, I believe the GM would get fired first. Because I mean,
Who?
it goes. What happened?
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
'Cause I look at it. I look at it the same way like we look at Shanny, right? If you fire Shanny right now, who you gonna get to replace them? So New York is the Giants are kind of in a similar situation. You just hired this guy, give him a chance to show you what he can really do. If you go and fire him right now, who are you going to replace him with? Robert Sala is on his way out the door if he can't get nothing going. Who else am I gonna? Who else? Who else?
Well,
I
the
can't
first
even
thing you
think
need
of
to do
another
is
coach.
identify who you're going to point the finger at. That's first thing. And in this situation, it seems like both of these guys came in at the same time. So,
Yeah, but who
one,
has more power?
do we need it? Well, that's what we're trying to solve here, right? Like Mike said, what's the solution? How do you even begin to like dissect this whole mess of a situation? Because the Giants are not the only team in this predicament. There's other teams within the same situation, Broncos, Raiders, and a possibility of maybe Chargers. Harvard's not that bad, but their coach is terrible. So what I'm trying to get at is they're in a mess, and they're not the only team in this mess. What's
All right, so
driving this? Are teams that desperate for a face of an organization that they're willing to overpay a kid who did absolutely nothing and stumbled his way into the playoffs because they're that desperate to put asses in seats, if you will, because that's essentially what it is. You need a face to your franchise. Now you're in a situation where you got this kid who's completely underperforming, and the head coach is completely not on board anymore. You saw him throw his tablet at him. And like Mike
I,
said, what is the answer? Because
I
now you
think
got a
the
lot of
best.
dead money with both guys.
You
I
got to think
believe
too.
the
You named a lot of teams there that are in that situation. I think what makes
yeah.
this different is Darble is now handcuffed to this kid because you just paid him, and people can argue that Darble, okay, he did some great things last year. He's going to be on track now for 2 bad years because he's not going to turn Jones around. Like the kid just it's not there. It never was there, and they relied on Barkley, like I said. So now Darble's handcuffed to this kid because you can't even move Jones. You're not going to bench your $40 million quarterback for a backup because that's a bad look. Like it's just, I think they're in the worst situation. I
Okay,
mean, so
now hold on a second. Now, hold on a second. Now,
Salah's situation too is, I would be 100% behind firing Salah. Reason for that being,
yeah,
last
Salah's
year,
on the hot seat right
oh
now.
yeah, because last year he gave a message about this team that they pretty much want to do what we did. Let's draft well. Let's make this homegrown. Let's build these guys up. We'll make our own superstars. Then the next year you go out and you get Aaron Rodgers. Totally kill your whole message. You go get Aaron Rodgers. You get all his cronies. He had his little wish list. You picked a couple guys off the wish list. You gave him his offensive coordinator. You gave him this. You gave him that. Guy goes down 4 plays into the season. He's done. Zach Wilson back on board, and Saleh keeps backing this kid up. Zach Wilson is going to cost Saleh his job. Like now, everyone's all
I
talking
got a
about
question
last
for you
week.
though. I
Oh,
got a question
he looked a little better. The offense is starting to get its thing. No, it's not. They're
before
Zach
you
Wilson.
continue. Before you continue, I got a question for you. If you look around the league right now, how many head coaches can you really say runs their organization, runs their team, every decision as far as like from every player making decision comes through them first? If you look at Shanny, would you say he's one of those coaches?
Yes.
If you look at McVay, would you say he's one of those coaches?
I think McVay is
Be
kind of.
honest.
I think it's 50-50 at the GM.
If you look at Pete Carroll, would you say he's one of those coaches?
Yes.
Who else can I say? Andy
Bill
Reid.
Belichick, who
Bill Belichick.
Bill Belichick, the book is still out on him, bro. Like he is something. It's
I'm
something.
glad you bring him up because that was going to be the perfect transition into it. But let's keep talking about it because there's so much to talk through on this. And Belichick is one of the guys I had on my items. But let's keep talking because I love where you're going with it.
Okay. Would you say Zach Taylor is one of those coaches?
No.
No,
What
I think we
what
just
about
gotta.
Nick?
No,
I think
I think there's about a handful of coaches.
there's not that many.
A
And then you got
handful of
some
coaches.
coaches
Okay.
that don't have any say. You go to the Cowboys and everything's run through Jerry Jones.
All right. So then when you look at this and you saying there's only a handful of head coaches, would you not say that Dable and the GM job is safe for now? The best solution for the Giants is to just eat it up, ground out the rest of the season, and start over next year. Maybe next year we revisit this topic again with
Someone's got
Daniel
to
Jones and
someone's got to go down. Someone's got to go down for this
Yeah.
because
Yep.
it's looking like one of the worst situations of a quarterback getting paid. Even when he got paid, everyone was scratching their heads. Like, what did he get paid for?
Well, my thing was this: why did he get paid after not even? I know on a coach's rookie year. That was Dable's rookie year, was it not? This is only his second season, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah, he pigeonholed him.
it was his agent putting pressure because they didn't pick up his 5th-year option, so they had to make a decision.
Yep.
So his agent was like, "Well, you're going to pay my guy, or we're going to take him elsewhere." And they played chicken, and the Giants organization blinked.
That really
Yeah,
sound if
for sure.
if it the scenario end up playing that way, to me it sounds like an agent that was, well, not an agent but the GM more under pressure to make that deal and to make a splash. Because
Well,
I
then,
mean,
Yeah, I agree.
if it was, you think about it now. You talking about Davis throwing tablet as his quarterback's feet and everything. He's pissed off. Does that sound like a guy who really went out for this kid?
No, here's the thing with that. Have you talked to a Giants fan lately? Have you talked to a Giants fan prior to the signing? Were they ever
Actually,
on
no, I
board with
haven't,
this
but I
kid?
can. I do have a Giants fan I can talk to right now, as a matter of fact. But
And here's where
No,
I'm
I haven't.
going with it because you're absolutely right. They stumbled into the playoffs. If you really check all the boxes, there's not many to check with this kid. So I'm
Mm.
still trying to understand, are teams that starved to put a face in front of their organization? Because it's not just Daniel Jones, guys. It's almost pretty much 75% of the league. You're basically down to 10 to 12 quarterbacks who can actually compete in this league. Jumping into the next thing on this same topic, though, we keep talking about the 2021 rookie class, and it falls right in line with Daniel Jones. I think we're about 98% certain that every QB in that class was a bust. The only guy who still has any light left is Trevor Lawrence. But yet, these quarterbacks continue to get ludicrous amount of money prematurely. And this is what happens. So jumping into the next thing, you got the same situation with the Patriots that we were talking about. Mac Jones, pretty much safe to say he's not going to work out. Patriots haven't been right since Brady left. That's a question I had. I think that's a topic for discussion as well. Are we at a point where we can start questioning Bill Belichick? Because ever since he lost Brady, he can't get a quarterback to perform. So the NFL continues to have a QB problem. And the Patriots are a prime example. Dude's gone, can't seem to find another one. But yet these guys continue to get paid. So it's crazy to me. We're not
I'm
even 2 years. It's not
I'm
even
gonna
2 years after the 2021 season. 3 years actually. 3 years
we're in the third
into
season.
it, and we're all labeling it's the third season, and it's safe to say these guys are not going to work out. That's
nah.
insane.
I'm with you guys on that one. There might be a little couple backup room for some of these guys. Maybe down the road, 4 or 5 years later, they might get better. They might look better. But Bill Belichick, though, I got a question for you on that one. Why did it take you this long to question Bill Belichick? And that's a real legit question. Why did it take you
I
this
know.
long to question him? I mean,
I
you've
question
seen him with
which
the Browns.
mm,
You what?
he had Brady to cover.
Mike's been questioning him.
Yeah.
Mike's been questioning him.
Once he lost Brady, I was raising all the questions because that's what it was
Dude,
coming down to. When Brady left, it was who helped who more. Brady went and won a Super Bowl, and the Patriots have been spiraling ever since.
listen, Bill
And you know
Belichick.
I hate to give Brady any kind of flowers.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, we do know that. Bill Belichick got fired from the Browns after what 1 or 2 seasons, I believe, right? That was the last coach that I know that got hired as a head coach and got fired like within his first 2 seasons. He was supposed to get the Jets job, but he ended up losing that job. Then he gets hired by the Patriots due to who was that, Parcell, I believe? Yeah, due to Parcell. He inherits a hell of a team at that time with Drew Bledsoe. He just so happened to stumble up on Tom Brady because he passed on him at least 5 times before he finally picked him up. That's what the hell saved Bill Belichick's career and put him on that pedestal as one of the greatest head coaches that's ever coached in the league. If I was him, I would retire before my career tarnished anymore.
That's what I was about to bring up. I was like, okay, he had all his great years with Brady, but how many more losing seasons does this guy need before that reputation is shot to hell?
I mean,
Yeah.
is he trying to match
Nope.
Brady? Show Brady that he could win one without him as well? Is that what it is? Tick for tat? Because I mean, Brady did it in year one.
Well,
Brady realized he couldn't do it year two, and he retired year three.
at this rate, it's going to take him like 20 years to prove it. So time to move on. I mean, Peyton's
Right.
another
And
example. Is Peyton tarnishing his reputation? I mean, it was already tarnished as is for being a dirty piece of shit. But um, I mean, he comes and he's supposed to be the savior of the Broncos. He's gonna fix Russell Wilson. That's all we heard this whole offseason. Broncos are gonna be contenders again. Peyton's gonna be that horse whisperer with Russell Wilson. And
nope.
I bring up
Dead
Sean
wrong on that
Payton.
one.
I bring up Sean Payton in a lot of conversations because when you talk about top of the mountain, the head coach, and his name is right there because of the quarterback he had and how he supposedly turned Drew Brees around. Who Drew Brees has always been Drew Brees. He just needed somebody to believe in him and let him do his thing. And won a Super Bowl. That's the only reason why you would even put Sean Payton in a category so high amongst other head coaches. But I agree with you. He should have never came back. He should have just stayed where the hell he was and enjoyed the legacy that he already had established. But now it's like, dude, are you sure you can fix this guy? I mean, this guy was an elite quarterback at one point. He still has skills. He still can do his thing. Let's be honest, Mike. Let's be honest. We faced him twice a year, and every time we faced his ass, we knew we was gonna have trouble with that little Mighty Mouse back there
we
running
did.
around.
It was one of those things where it was like your Achilles heel, right? Russell Wilson was that. But
Yeah.
I still stand behind it because I called it last season. I said he was going to be a bust of the Broncos, and you all laughed at me.
We did.
When he was so-called
He
elite,
did.
when he was so-called elite, he was just behind a phenomenal defense. One of the top defenses a team has seen.
Well, yeah, he was, but I mean, you can't ignore the way he extended plays. Neither, I mean,
I'll give him that, but I never considered Russell Wilson elite.
could you imagine?
So yeah, exactly. What happened to him then? So what happened to him? What's changed? Because you're right. Like we did our division rankings, that's exactly how I ranked them, and I was probably ahead of the line in being wrong because I thought that was going to work, and probably a month later, that report comes out that Sean Payton's rolling this guy out under the bus, and then like Mike called, it was a complete disaster since day one. So
Well, you have to think about who his coach was as well, and then the contract that he was under. You know, he played under a rookie contract to where he really had no kind of say so. So he pretty much had to go out there and do what coach said. Once his head got big, married to Sierra and did this and did that, I think Future got under his skin, bro. Like he thinking too much out there on that field. He's thinking in the future.
From all things that I've heard, he's always had that attitude. Because everything that comes out, not one player in his past, present, whatever, has come out to defend him. Even all the way back to college, people have come out and said, nah, that's how he's always been. He's always been fake. He's always had that ego. And now it's getting exposed. But you keep bringing up coaches and quarterbacks together. How many of these elite coaches are considered elite just because they're right place, right time, riding coattails of their players?
that's a great point.
Coach, I would like
that's
to
a
bring
great.
up is a coach that we'll be facing on Sunday. Mr. Mike McCarthy, I think, is one of the most overrated coaches in this league. That guy rode the coattails of Aaron Rodgers in his prime. And
I
then
agree
his
with you.
got stale, he got fired, and now the Cowboys have brought him on. And I think the combo of him and Dak Prescott is what's holding the Cowboys back, to be honest.
Dak Wilson.
Yeah, for sure. And
That's
so,
what he wanted
and just
say,
to wrap
Dak
it up,
Wilson.
Dak Wilson. I mean, it sounds legit. I mean, and just to wrap it up on that, until we can solve for this problem with the decision makers and the people making decisions, because the one takeaway I have from Mav in the Bill Belichick and the Tom Brady situation is that was in 2001, 2002. It's 2023. Bill Belichick stumbled upon this guy. He didn't scout him. And it's 2023 now, and we're having the same exact issue. So you can see it. You look around the landscape of the league, and the quality of play at the quarterback position is terrible. We can't seem to figure it out. Therefore, the product being put on the field by some of these teams is unacceptable. It's Absolutely garbage.
So I had this thought. I was thinking about this earlier this morning about how I'm always talking about pairings, of course, talk about coaches and QBs and wide receivers. Now, if you take Jamar Chase, like we talked about earlier, and you put him on a team with the Chiefs, does that elevate Jamar Chase or does that elevate Patrick Mahomes to another height? 'Cause, I mean, we know they're both great athletes on their own, but put them together, who elevates who?
I mean, it's hard to say till you see them together. You
Right.
can have a great quarterback and you can have a great wide receiver, but it doesn't mean that the chemistry is going to mesh. We've
Right.
seen it before where you think it's going to be great and they just don't get that chemistry going. So it would be
Because
hard to say. I mean, it's easy to say that that's probably the one thing that KC's missing is that elite receiver. They're relying on their tight end because Kelsey is that guy to Mahomes.
only reason I bring that up is for the simple fact that I hear you guys a lot, and plus a lot of people talk about how Burrow is on the same playing field as Mahomes, pretty much, as far as like young quarterbacks, elite quarterbacks. And you look at Jamar Chase putting with Mahomes, I feel like that elevates Mahomes a little bit more because he'll have another security blanket. But because he's bound to lose Travis Kelsey in the next couple of years. So he's gonna need somebody young or somebody, in their mid age somewhere that can still give him another 5 years to ball with. But I also look at a guy like Justin Jefferson, who's playing with a mediocre quarterback in the league. A lot of people are down on Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins is a pretty damn good quarterback in honest opinion. He just can't get you a Super Bowl, but he'll get you wins. Like if you want wins every week, he'll get you that. But if you take Justin Jefferson and plug him in with Patrick Mahomes, that would turn Justin Jefferson into a totally different beast, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we can disagree on. We don't have enough time to disagree on Kirk Cousins, but yeah, the fact that you say he's a great quarterback, I can't get there for sure.
I say he's a good
But
quarterback. If I said great, I apologize. I mean, he's a good quarterback. He's decent.
it's rough. I don't know. I try to
You
like the
put
guy
him on a
because of the
giant.
show on Prime, and he's just I can't. But anyways, let's jump into why we're here. All right, it's
All
week
right, guys.
5. Right, it's week
Let's
5.
go.
It's Cowboys week. Right, we've eliminated these guys 2 straight years from the playoffs, and they're pissed off. They're trying to beat us. Not only are they trying to beat us, they're trying to humiliate us. And it seems like a lot of the talking is coming from that side. And from our side, it's just any other week. Where do we want to start with this game? How are we going to want to break it down?
Let's
Who
start
wants
with
to
the
kick us
quarterback.
off?
Let's start with the quarterbacks. The thing that makes me laugh about this whole thing is every time it comes to Cowboys Niners week, whether it be regular season playoffs the past few years, Dak Prescott always talks about how he's pissed off. Go ahead, piss me off more, guys. It's going to fire me up. And then what's he do? He shits the bed. He ever since his injury, he's lost some fire. He doesn't have it. Um, with Mike McCarthy play calling this year, he's been very safe with Dak. I know everyone's like, oh, he's only thrown one interception. Yeah, well, it's because they've been protecting him. The defense has been doing a lot of the work here. Um, Dak is going to have to shoot. If they want to win this game, they're going to have to shoot it out with us. Dak is going to have to strap this team to his shoulders, and he's got to go toe to toe with Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, and Debo Samuel. And I don't think he can do it. And they want to talk about, I've heard analysts talk about how the Cowboys are physical. No, they're not. The Cowboys are want to be physical. You want to talk about the physical team? It's the Niners. We punch them in the face. You see what happens when they get punched in the mouth. The Cardinals did it 2 weeks ago. If the Cardinals did that, what do you think we're going to do? So they can talk about how they're pissed and how they have all this motivation. Their own owner thinks we're going to win the Super Bowl. What kind of motivation do you think that is to your guys? That you went on a national radio show and you picked the 49ers to win the entire thing.
I mean, it could be a
I mean,
motivation or it could be a trick.
Jerry Jones ain't tricking nobody.
He be putting pressure on us.
is there anything that concerns us? Is there anything about the Cowboys that concerns us?
Okay, it's not so much concern, but since Mike went ahead and started with the QB position first, and he went straight to Dak Prescott, I'm gonna go ahead and start on our defensive line. Defensive line. Do we see pressure right out the gate? Do we send the house right out the gate, or do we play like we've been playing for the last 4 weeks, conservative, and letting Dak run all over us and letting Tony Pollard run all over us? I mean, is that the
I
kind of game that we're going to have?
I think this defense is going to start strong. I think they've heard what's been said. We're still not a bad defense by no means, but we're not getting to the quarterback. We're not sealing the deal. We're getting pressures, but pressures don't get it done. You got to get to the quarterback. You got to sack them.
Well,
And
that's what I mean. Do
yeah,
you send in? Do you send in the corner?
I
Do
think
you
I
start
think
blitzing?
we're going to do it. We're going to pressure them. This is the Cowboys. They know it. Um, I
Well,
think
we know it's gonna happen at least in the second half. That's when we usually start seeing the defense tighten up and start stopping plays they supposed to have been stopping in the first half. That's what I'm asking. Is that second half defense gonna come to play in the first half right off bat?
I think they start off strong. I think we're going to punch them in the mouth from the beginning.
Okay, because I mean
They
Bosa
know.
only
They
had two
know.
sacks in the last 9 games.
He did. I know it's a bad look for the sacks, but it's not like he's not doing anything. He's getting the pressure. He's still double teamed like crazy. He's just something's not right. I don't know what it is, but I think he can.
Yeah, exactly. Where are we missing? Where is why do we have such a lack of pass rush? I mean, let's be honest. You're absolutely right, man. We're not getting home in the first half. Like, is it defensive stunts? Is it a vanilla game plan? What is it? You know what I mean? Because
I
you're
don't know
right.
what
We
it is. I don't know
cannot
what it is, but
afford
it
to
seemed like
start slow.
last year. Nah, it seemed like last year Bosa had more help. Like everybody was feared on that defensive line. You didn't know who was gonna get in there. So Bosa was able to get in as much as he could. But this year is like, why are we just sitting here playing patty cake with the offensive line? That's pretty much all the hell we're
I don't
doing.
see any creativity with the defensive stunts, to be honest with you. I think it's just plain and simple rush your gap, get to the quarterback. I would like to see more stunts. I don't know if it's a defensive scheme. It's obvious he wasn't at training camp, and that's probably hurting him now. It's taken him a while to get going, but we can't afford a slow start. I mean, do we have
You know
holes?
what?
Are there defensive worries
For
we can say?
for a guy like Bosa, that excuse is out the window. That excuse got out the window week 2 after week 2. You know, it's no more of he's got to get acclimated to the defense and anything, because what's being said about Bosa is that he stays in shape. He knows the playbook, right or wrong. So why are we still waiting for him to get acclimated to the defense because he wasn't in camp? That I think that excuse is out the window, especially for me. I don't know about for anybody else if they're still babying Bosa or not, because he sure as hell was not babying that front office when they were trying to negotiate with him. He was being a man about it, so we need to be a man about that too. Am I right or wrong?
No, you're right. You're right. Pull up
Because I
some of his other
mean,
stats.
yeah,
What are his stats looking like for the year?
you said what's his stats looking like for the year?
Just because everyone's focusing on the sacks. What about his other stats?
Well, I mean, true indeed, but in so many ways, you paid him mainly for those sacks.
Well,
I
I
mean
get that.
that's
I get that.
so.
I'm just curious here. Let's see.
If it's not for that, like how many pressures does he have? He's been double teamed all season long so far,
He's still the
but
most
no one else on that D line is taking advantage. He's still what?
he's still the most double teamed person on a defensive line. But he's got
Were we
people.
Okay,
better
so
off last
why
year on
isn't
the right side?
anyone else on that line taking advantage of Bosa's double team? I believe it was better off on the whole damn O line. I mean D line.
Yeah, because we lost Ebicum. As much as crap as I talked about Ebicum, I mean, are we missing him right now? I know we had Drake Jackson as a standout guy. I don't see him getting much run, and then Cleveland Farrell's not getting making much impact on that right side of the line. So, still trying to figure out what is it? Is it a defensive scheme or are guys just
What
not
about Hargrave? What about
winning?
Hargrave that everybody was so high up on? Oh man, we signed Hargrave. Like for what?
Hargrave has been
Well, I
performing.
mean,
Hargrave
yeah,
has
he
been,
has. He's getting in.
he's been doing his job. Again, you can't judge a D line just by sacks. And I feel that's where a lot of these guys are getting grief right now is because they're not sacking people. Hargrave has been worth the money that we're paying that man.
It's hard to say that about the 49ers when we're known to have a dominant defense that is led by sacks, fumbles, and interceptions. But it's hard to say.
That's a
Okay, maybe not fumbles.
we did not lead in sacks. We have not been leading in sacks for the last.
Maybe not lead, but I mean, as far as like when you talk about the 49ers, that's all you hear. Physical defense. Sack, like we get in there, we sack the quarterback, we get after them. Ball hawks, we're either pass deflection or picking it off or causing a fumble. That when you talked about us for the last 4 years, it's hard to not talk about sacks. It's hard to now say we can't judge us based off sacks when that's all we've been judged based on for mainly for the last 4 years, especially since Bosa's been on the field. It's been a competition between him and who is that? TJ Watt
So Bosa's six in
and
pressures.
Miles.
He's still in the top 10. He's six in pressures. Of course, he's not up there in sacks.
Okay.
He's got two. So, of
Yeah.
course, I mean, stats aren't there. But I think more, I don't, like Mike said, I agree. Sacks isn't everything. But when we have issues with our secondary, getting home is so important. So here's what's driving me freaking nuts right now. It's running a blitz off soft coverage. To me, it just absolutely makes no sense. So why are you sending an extra guy if you're gonna play off? So I think there's lack of creativity here. There's an issue with the defensive scheme. I listened to Shanahan's press conference, and he flat out said there was lapses in our defense. I don't know who's that to, but obviously there's concern there.
Is it just me or are we playing more zone than ever?
In the first half, it's all zone. There's only two guys that I can even think of that would be a threat. Is CeeDee Lamb. These are the only guys I can think of. Is CeeDee Lamb beating us deep on Ambry Thomas, and Brandon Cooks getting us on in the slot if we're not getting home. That's probably the only thing that I can think of, and it's not even a concern, to be honest with you. But we should beat these guys convincingly. Convincingly, you know what I mean?
They got a pretty decent tight end too. He gets open.
They got a good tight end. But I mean, I guess the point comes down to when we get into the playoffs, we got to make a move. What move? Like at what expense though? Because I know we need a corner. We need a corner. But what I wouldn't want to see is another first round draft pick getting traded away because we just got it back this year. So at what costs? You know what I mean?
Hey, Matt, where do you think
we can't go into the playoffs with Ambry Thomas? Go ahead, Mike.
Where do you think we rank in interceptions? Because you brought up interceptions as a stat that we're known for.
I try to pull back on that. I said maybe not fumbles and interception, but I'll play your game for that a little bit. Out of 32, um, probably maybe top 15, 16 maybe at the most.
We're tied for fourth.
I
We got five
fourth,
interceptions.
okay.
We're averaging more than one interception a game at this point. So
Hufanga has like 2, right?
top teams, the Bills at 8,
Mm-hmm.
and then you've got Cowboys at 7. Oh wait, actually,
That's an asterisk.
yeah,
That's an
Buccaneers,
asterisk.
Buccaneers at 6, and then you got us and the Jets at 5. This is a defense that's
So yeah,
Let's see.
we're still
When
holding
you start,
16 points a game.
when you
So
listen,
yeah,
the defense. Okay,
we
I
can
know. I
miss it.
said I'm gonna stay,
The defense is still not slouching. Yeah, they can be better. There's room for improvement,
but see
but we're
that's
not slouching.
that's the thing though, Mike. That okay. This is my thing, and Run brought it up. We're good in the regular season. Yeah, we get these wins, but it's hard to celebrate it when you can see as a fan that some problems might occur at the worst time, which is the playoff. And if
Every
it
team's
doesn't
got a
get
problem.
fixed now, oh, and you're right. And I believe that's why every team has 17 weeks to play to fix their problems, because when you get into the playoff, it's 0-0. So when you get in there, I mean, what are you gonna do? Are you still gonna play the same way you played in the regular season? Because that shit don't work. We've clearly seen that teams go in there and get in the playoff by luck and then thinking that their game plan that's been working all year long is gonna work, and they get dismantled because there's a whole nother playbook.
That's fine. We could play your game of hypotheticals. Say the season ends tomorrow. Playoffs all.
Okay,
Teams are going in as is. Do you see a team in this league that could beat us?
dude. If the
Based off
playoff starts tomorrow, no.
based off everyone's played for 4 weeks.
If
So
the
if
playoff starts tomorrow,
No,
no,
not at all.
if other
no.
teams are going to improve over
Because
the next 15 weeks, you think we're not going to? We're already scary.
it's
We're
not
only
so
going to
much. See, it it's not so much just improving. It's far as like you got one goal, right? And and before you get to that goal, is you gotta go through one door, and that's the playoff. But before the playoff, you have 16 weeks. Oh, dub is a dub, a L is a L, regardless on how you get it. But
yeah.
while you playing those games, you're seeing things that needs to be fixed in order for you to survive in the playoff if you make it. So that's pretty much what we're talking about right now. Like our main concern is not for next week, really, but it's for the playoffs. If we play the Cowboys like we've been playing all week, all season long so far, and we play like Ron said, we play zone the entire first half and we get burned. Now we have to play from behind in the second half. Is that something that we can consistently do? Can we afford to do that in the playoff when teams actually bring out their actual playbook, when they start opening up everything? Can we sustain that?
I think
I
so.
think we can.
And that's why and
Yeah. I
that's where
think
I'm at, you know?
we're still strong. So it, here's what I'm thinking, and keep me honest. Am I entitled at this point? Because here's what pissed me off, and I'm pretty sure it pissed a lot of people off. That second quarter touchdown that was given up by Ambry Thomas was completely unnecessary. It was completely unnecessary. That
Yeah, it
touchdown
was.
should never happen. The
You're
question I
right.
ask myself is, we still stomped them, but it was annoying as hell because we know we're better than that. So that's where I'm torn because both things can be true. We can still be dominant, but we can still be better by not giving up those bonehead bombs to a bunch of no-name receivers.
So this second half touchdown right before the half seems to be becoming a little bit of a common
A
thing.
trend.
It's a
It's a
trend. Yeah.
trend.
Right.
So could you attribute that trend to the trend that we had with Ryan's, where we always gave up an opening touchdown? That opening drive was always a touchdown, and we were this. It was the same with everyone would say the same things. We were all frustrated. Why do we always got to give up that opening drive touchdown? There's always going to be
It's
something
true.
little nitpick.
But the thing
Right.
about
Right.
Ryan's is you looked at it, he gave up an opening drive touchdown, and that was more like a filler. Okay, is this gonna work? Is this okay? It's not gonna work. Let's get to it. The next drive, what happens? That defense comes out and stand tall. So
Okay, so there you brought up a point there. So he made adjustments after that. Have we not made
right
adjustments?
away,
Let that
right away
have,
though.
have we not made the adjustments every time we let that first half touchdown go? The second half, this team has locked teams up on defense.
We
So it's
making to
almost
It's
me, I
true
like
feel
because,
like
like,
we're making adjustments too late.
yeah, that's the point I'm
We're,
going to. People would let the first drive go and then he'd make his adjustments. It seems like we're always like, okay, we're doing okay the first half. Then we let that big one go right before halftime, and then they put the clamps on the second half. He just needs to do it
yeah,
earlier.
but yeah, it shouldn't be like that. I mean, like you, like I'm looking at the first week against the Steelers, and I'm like, wow, I felt really, really bad for the Steelers that I wanted to cry for them. That's how bad of a game that thought it was. But then as soon as we gave up a touchdown, it's like, bruh, are you serious right now? Like we had this whole game locked down to 0, and you want to give up a touchdown, bruh, towards the end of the game? That that really hurt me because I really thought that they was gonna really, really prove me wrong as far as me telling you that they're not gonna be top 5, and eh, and that's the way that I'm seeing the season going. They're gonna be giving up touchdowns that don't need to be given up at the worst possible time. That's one thing that I'm scared of as well too. Uh, it could be to the point to where this game coming up against the Cowboys that we're up by 3. It could be a real close game with 2 minutes left, and next thing you know, Dak freaking finds his Superman cape, and our secondary gives up some bull crap touchdown at the worst possible moment. See, those are the moments that I don't want to be happening when we get to the playoff. I need us to get out the gate right off the bat. Show get
I
in
guess what
Dak's
we're all
face.
looking for is dominating wins. It's not just win; it's dominating. That's where I'm torn because as a fan,
Right,
Every win has
right.
been a dominating win.
exactly. That's why I ask myself: Am I delusional to think that
Like
we can hold everybody to under 10 points?
you're
Even
getting
as
you're getting what you want, but still complaining about it at the same time.
right. You exactly.
I
That's why I'm
am,
so torn because
I am, but
I
I'm
may be
not.
just lumping everything into one thing. To Mike's point, we may be just lumping everything into one thing and nitpicking because third down efficiency was a problem in the past. We seem to always give up the third down. That was frustrating. Like Mike said, we always seem to give up the opening drive. And now it seems to be that we just have a boneheaded touchdown at the end of every
You
second
know
half.
what?
We may
Let
just
me
be
let me see.
entitled at this point.
Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can get it to the get it right. Last year we had Jimmy. Of course, I wanted to be because the team we had, we should have been putting up 30, 40 points last year. When Brock came in and he showed us that he can move that team and he can get us them 30, 40 points. I'm happy with that. I'm ecstatic with that. But this year is more like, okay, we have the team. We have the damn driver. We know what we can put up. So I'm not gonna be excited for every week, every win. I want that 6. Let's
So
get it.
we're you can say that we're playing great ball on all sides of the ball. Offense,
Hmm.
defense,
Yep.
special teams. We're killing it.
Hmm.
Now
Right.
We are.
that some of the frustrations with defense is coming from we used to have to rely on the defense. And this year you can
Right.
argue usually say that the offense is the one that's slightly better than the defense, and that's weird for
Mm-hmm.
this fan
Exactly.
base to kind of take in because we were
I
used to
okay.
Jimmy and the
I could take that. I take
now
that.
we're firing all cylinders. So it's like we got to find one thing to nitpick. Can't be the offense because offense is scoring 30 points a
True.
game, 30 plus points a game. I think we're averaging 31
Yeah.
points. Um, so you got to find something to nitpick because you can't be completely perfect all times. So we got a top.
Right.
Imagine if this
Right now we're
defense.
probably got a top 2 defense or a top 2 offense and a top 5 defense. And people are
Imagine
just
if this
gotta find something.
defense was last. Dude, if this defense was last year's defense, nobody would be saying anything right now because we won't just be scoring 30 points. We'll be scoring close to 50 a game because the defense will certainly account for two. Let's just be real. Mike, come on. Let's be honest, man. Let's be honest. We cannot sit here and say this team is playing great ball on all three phases, on all three sides of the game, and not say that it's impossible for them to be putting up 40, 50 points. Let's not say that.
I
It's
don't know
not
that I'll go
playing
that
stuff like
far.
that.
Look, I don't know that I'll go that
Not every
far.
week.
I
Not
don't want
every
to
week.
sound the alarm on the pass rush yet because it's still week 5. Bosa's still getting warmed up. I think if you want to be specific, not to call anybody out, Ambry Thomas,
It's
but I think that's probably the biggest. Specifically, one person. It's one person.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And yeah, I'm gonna just be honest. I think Mike won this round. Let's just be honest. Let's jump into the next one for the sake of time here, because Mike makes good points. He brought up the the beginning drive touchdowns and stuff like that. I mean, if you put it into that perspective, Mav, it makes perfect sense. At this point, we're probably just lumping in everything together. We look so good. Something bad just absolutely stands out. I think that's what I'm going to conclude on. So let's jump into the next topic. Let's talk about Shanny.
only reason.
All right.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mav. You got a last thought?
No, I was just gonna say the only.
You good?
Yeah, I was just gonna say the only thing
Mm-hmm.
that was different from that is because Ryan's will let go of that first touchdown. Once he gets that first touchdown and figures out how the offense is running, the very next series, you see the defense change. He doesn't wait a whole half to adjust. So that's my only argument against that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, which is a valid point. So let's talk about Shanny a little bit. I know Mike talked on Dable earlier and him just absolutely robbing Shanny out of the Coach of the Year. Last season, I know we always talk about our slow starts. Completely the opposite this year. Is this Shanny's year? With everything that is, with everything, with the extension, just as the whole line of work, is this finally the year that Shanny gets his kudos? Mav, I'm going to start with you since you seem to be the opposer.
Hey, he gets that
What do
ring.
you
Look,
need
I
to
mean,
see this year?
that ring. That's it. That's all I need to see this year. That ring.
What if he doesn't get the ring? Can you still see him
Dude,
as
then
Coach of the Year if we continue at this pace?
You
how
can't
you got?
put the ring into there because you get it before we even get to the Super Bowl. So the Coach of the Year, it's all judged by the season. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, the Coach of the Year. I don't know. To me, it's a little different because I look at it like Brian Dable. He earned that for the simple fact of him being the first time head coach and what we know of Daniel Jones and what he was capable of doing. Yeah, they they snuck into the playoffs, but taking a guy that everybody was down on and making him look good. I mean, yeah, I could see why. Versus Shanny, who had a team on his only deficiency was quarterbacks that he didn't have, but yet he still made it all the way. And I can see both fights on both arguments on both sides. Yeah, we get it, Mike. I see it. But
three
I think
he
that's
did it
what
with
Brian Dable won. And when I three different quarterbacks, but see when you're talking about a coach of the year, to me, I look for the one that's mainly that comes into the worst situation and turns it around. not already having a good situation, even though we lost three quarterbacks, we're down to a fourth quarterback, but still he was surrounded by by playmakers regardless. So I mean that's how I
I
look at
mean,
that's how I look at
so I,
a coach of the year.
the one point. Go ahead,
If
Mike.
we go undefeated regular season or lose
Mhm.
one game, does Shanny deserve Coach of the Year?
I'm not gonna say he deserves it, but he needs to be on the top. He needs to be one of the top two guys talked about. If that's his record, but if that's how we're looking at Coach of the Year based on the record, then I think anybody that makes the championship should be considered to be Coach of the Year, whether you're AFC or NFC.
Postseason doesn't count though. They don't count postseason in the.
It don't. It's regular season, but there's 2 points you made there,
But you
Mav.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. But one point that you made that is absolutely correct is Coach of the Year isn't based off of like the entire tenure of work. It's based off of that season. So if
Right.
you want to just break down that season with Dable and Shanny, there's a valid point to be made there. There's a valid argument, like Mike said. 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah,
You
on
went
both
through 3 guys.
sides. Definitely.
You know what I'm saying? And Dable, he tricked us into thinking he was a good coach. I mean,
But he still
three
came into
quarterbacks is it's a big deal.
three quarterbacks is a big deal compared to a trash situation that and a trash quarterback that everybody was down on.
But now we're seeing it
Who
as
had
a
the
fraud.
dirtiest job?
It's all fraudulent because
we're talking about
we go to year 2
whether
and it's all falling apart. Daniel Jones is what we
listen
all
what
thought.
whether it was a fraud or not, we're talking about last year, not the whole entire body of work, just what he did last year. Last year he came in, he
Right.
got hot, he looked good, and
Well,
he got it.
so the second point that you made earlier was you judge a coach based off of how messy the situation was and how good of a job he did in cleaning it up, right? Ideally, that's how you judge it, right? You personally,
Right.
can you I mean, can you look at it from the
What
other end of the spectrum?
not judge it, not just judge it, but I factor those in.
Okay, so you
I would say.
factored that in.
Yeah.
Can we factor the homegrown talent? Can we factor the attrition in the coaches? And can we factor how he still managed to keep it all together after going through 3 quarterbacks? If you
Yeah,
put
but if
these
you're
guys
doing that,
side by side,
mm-hmm.
All the
I
coaches
think
he loses and gets poached, but he continues to keep the system churning. That's another thing that's just so undervalued, I think. Because you look at the
Yeah,
Eagles,
but now
they lost
now
both
we're
quarterbacks.
talking about this year though.
They're struggling. Last year, Shanny
But
lost.
now
Got his
we're
way.
talking about this year though. If he goes undefeated or even lose one game, does he deserve it? I'm not gonna tag that word in front deserving, because for honestly, I
Should
don't
he
think we
be?
deserve any. None of us deserve anything.
Should he be a candidate to win?
right. Here's the point I'm trying to make,
Yeah,
Nav. I
most
think
definitely a
that Shanny is
top
held
two.
to a different standard because he's almost expected to excel. Dable's bar was so low
Right.
that he won Coach of the Year because he like all he had to do was barely do anything above it. So I think Shanny gets the short end of the stick. And to Mike's point, there's a lot that doesn't show up that he should get credit for. Chris, what
Hey,
up, buddy?
what's going on, boys? I figured
What up?
I just got done
I
my
mean,
post game show, so I
Shanny
figured
will
I'd hop
always
on.
get the short end of the stick. What's going on,
Nice.
Chris?
Glad to have you, brother.
Yep.
I mean, in a way, Shanny will always get the short end of the stick for the simple fact of what he's built. It's like not just because I'm a 49er fan, I want to just give it to him. But everything I said, I factored in, as far as like how messy the situation is, who you got as your quarterback, who you got as your playmakers. It makes a big difference. And what can you do next year? Though I think Coach of the Year are really motivational trophies for the year to come after that, and with a lot of expectations for it. Like you said, Shanny already has a lot of expectation on the table when it comes to him. So I don't think losing Coach of the Year to a coach that goes into a messed up situation is that much of a negative. Like, I don't even think he cares about that. So
Yeah.
why should we?
Chris, we're talking about Shanny and Coach of the Year expectations. Like what would we need to see from
I'll tell
Shanny
you,
this year to finally get nominated?
dude, I'll tell you what. And I was listening to you guys right before I came on. Then I listened to what Mav said. Um, if he didn't win Coach of the Year last season, I don't know what the hell it's going to take for Shanahan to win Coach of I thought last year was an absolute abomination. It was appalling that he did not win Coach of the Year. He took. I mean, look, at that point when Brock Purdy became the quarterback, no one had any idea. I mean, no one would have thought in the entire universe that he would be where he is today. So the fact that Shanahan did what he did with, a fourth or fifth string quarterback, went to the NFC title game, hasn't lost a game since Brock took over. To be honest with you, Mav and guys, I don't know what else the guy can possibly do to win Coach of the Year. Personally, I just think it's a popularity contest, and Kyle Shanahan is not very popular within the NFL outside of the walls of the 49ers.
Yeah, well, I mean that, and that's kind of the point I was trying to
See,
make to
if you think
Mav is that he's held to a different standard. It's almost like
Mhm.
it's yeah, and then you look at Dable and you're like, look at what Dable's doing, but Shanny, that's kind of expected of him. You know what I mean? Look at his coaching tree. This guy's royalty. I kind of feel like he's kind of held to a different standard. It's just expected, and you're absolutely right. He got dog last year for the award,
Mhm.
so
He did come in second, didn't he?
yeah.
I believe he came in
Yes,
I
second.
mean,
Yeah,
listen to what Chris just said. Did he second or third or something? I think.
I think it was
second.
second.
Yeah,
Listen to what Chris just said. If he didn't win it last year, he don't know what else this man can do. That's because his team is already at a ceiling, bro, at a level to where you have to go out and win the Super Bowl now, bro. That's all it is. There's
yeah.
nothing else we
But
can
that's
offer you.
bullshit, though.
Is you have to
At
win the
that
Super
point,
Bowl. There's no ifs or
we don't
buts
even know
about
what the criteria is. But that's bullshit, though, because now what you're telling me is that it's like coach by coach situation. Like there's no consistent criteria for the award, because we talked about is a body of work, or is it just year to year?
If you're talking body of work, Bill Belichick's only won it 3 times, and he's the greatest coach of all time. So
Right.
it just keeps telling me that it is a straight pop. It's like the Pro Bowl.
it.
Like
Because
it's
of
just a
Brady.
popularity contest. But that's the thing. Like
He-
it doesn't matter.
Okay, let's take a look at Gannon, for example. What he's over there doing with that's his name, right? Gannon.
Jonathan
yeah,
Gannon.
Gannon.
Let's look at what this guy was over there doing with Arizona right now.
All right. So before we do that, are we actually throwing Gannon's
If
name in the
Arizona
hat
turn
for
things
coach of the
around and
year if
start
he
to
keeps?
win,
We're talking
even
about a guy that's
give
got one.
themselves a chance to make the playoff.
No.
They're not making the map. They're not making the playoffs.
But do you see what I'm saying though? If he turned things
Yeah.
around and build and no, well, that's what I'm saying. Well, that's what I'm saying. He doesn't even have to make the playoff. He can just get close to it. Even if he gets knocked out by one game, that would
No.
guarantee him to be a candidate for coach of the year because of how bad we talked about Arizona being a dumpster fire, and here they come one game away from making the playoffs.
Mhm.
With not even with their starting quarterback.
Yeah, I
That
think
would
it's
say a lot about this coach in year one.
To be honest, I think if depending on how the season ends, I could pretty much tell you right now who would win um, the coach of the year in the NFL. It would be Dan Campbell with the Lions. And if they even come close to the playoffs or make the playoffs or lose a game in the first round, but they're going to hand Dan Campbell the coach of the year because
They're dying to give it to him.
the
Yeah.
NFL loves the guy. Like literally, Mike Shanahan, that's the dad. Kyle Shanahan could go undefeated this season. Brock Purdy could damn near win the MVP or McCaffrey win the MVP. And the Lions can go 10-7 and lose in the first round of playoffs, and Dan Campbell's going to win the coach of the year. That's just how I could see it playing out
believe
that
that.
way.
But see, the
That's
Lions
crazy.
also have a history as well too, making the
Of
playoffs
sucking.
for the first time in like how many years? Yeah. See, so that's a fact. That's a big factor into why he would get coach of the year over someone who has a
So
team
then,
that's
yeah, to
built and
Chris's
ready to
point,
go.
at this rate, Shanahan's never going to win it. He's never going to win it.
Win. No.
Was
He's never going to win it.
Do we know how far along in it was he for 2019, our Super Bowl year? Because we
Let me
went
see.
from a dumpster fire year of losing to making the Super Bowl.
I think.
And he still didn't win it.
Yeah.
And those that's between those years. Between those years, that's when he should have won it. Because of
Right.
what
So
he
no matter
did
which
with
way
the
you
team.
slice
Like,
it,
he
he's not
took
going to
them
win
from
it.
where they were into what they are now.
That's fine. The only award we need is the
No,
Lombardi.
but
Hill.
not as far as
Right.
I'm not gonna say he's not gonna win it, but
So
I'm not gonna
in
say he's not gonna win it. But for right
2019,
now, though, I mean, he's already got a well-oiled machine.
John Harbaugh won the 2019 Coach of the Year. Kyle Shanahan came in second place.
So he's always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
That's correct.
Yep.
Well, in 2023, you don't know. But yeah,
Yep.
you're right.
Shall
I
we
don't
give
know. I think it's time we give Shanny his kudos.
score predictions for Sunday, fellas?
Let's do it. Let's go ahead and do it. All right, fellas. So, score predictions for Sunday. Mike, go ahead.
You know what? I want to make Mav happy with this one. He keeps throwing that 40 number out there. I'm gonna go 40.
Bruh, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Listen, do not predict no blowout. Do not
I'm doing it.
predict
I'm
no
doing it.
blowout.
40 to 13.
Do not predict no.
Jeez. That's awesome.
Wow. 40 to 13. Let me write that down.
That place is going to be rocking on Sunday. 40 to 13.
Woo.
I'm sorry, but McCarthy.
As a
Jack,
matter of
they
fact,
don't-
I'm finna set up my pool lineup right now.
CMC getting at least 2 touchdowns.
I'm finna enter my pool right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me get my score prediction, then I'll bounce it over to Chris. I'm going to go with 30-17 us.
30-17. So that's really close to my prediction. I'm at 34-20. Niners win. I do think for a long time it's probably I guess it's 100%. I think it's a fourth quarter mop up points for Dallas to get to that 20 to 23 spot. So yeah, I'm going to say it's almost going to be like a Rams game where they add a few fourth quarter points, but it doesn't really matter. I think Niners go 5-0, and they win this 34-20.
Mav, close us out.
All right, so I'm gonna keep it like last year. They held Brock Purdy to under 20 points. I think it was 19, the 9, 10 point
and
win
then
last year.
23. Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yep.
So okay, so I'm not gonna predict no blowout, but if I'm gonna keep it in the 30s, I'm gonna do a 10-point win, 34-24 us.
That's okay. That's good.
Now, if we're gonna keep it in the 30s, I'm gonna keep it 10-point, 34-24, 10-point win us.
Hey, I'll take a 10-point win against Dallas. any day.
Because
So
predict,
that's fine.
yeah, I mean, predicting these blowouts, man, has just been silly. It really has, because I mean, we look at this team and they should be scoring, but
We
that's
are
it. I'm
scoring.
done.
We are scoring.
We're scoring a lot, and I think they're going to score a lot more Sunday night. So, man, prime time. Cannot wait, guys. I'm sorry for coming on late, but when duty calls, I had to take care of some business. But I'm so thrilled that you guys hung on for a little bit so I could come in and do this because it's Cowboys week, and I've been waiting for this since the schedule came out. So, nonetheless, this has been the Niners Lounge. Ron, Mav, and Mike, thank you, boys, so much for holding it down. We'll see you guys again late Sunday night for post-game live here on the Niners Lounge here on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, smash that like button, hit subscribe. Let's keep getting that subscriber count up. Really appreciate that. Again, if you want to follow us on the Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, bottom screen right now on that ticker, just come out, shoot us a follow, send us some questions, talk to us, whatever you want to do. But thank you guys so much. I'm Chris. That's Ron, Mike, and Mav. And we'll catch you guys down the road. And as always, go Niners. Kick the Cowboys' ass. Let's go.
Go Niners. Keep watching. Like and subscribe, baby.
If you're at the game, reach out. Let's meet
Yes,
up.
sir.